Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Siobhan Beckford and in this video I will be talking about if the iPhone 13 can replace your dedicated mirrorless camera. Let's dive right into this video Siobhan Beckford style. So even though I mentioned mirrorless camera earlier, I will be talking about the Panasonic Lumix S5 specifically, paired with the 20 to 60mm kit lens and also the 85mm f1.8 lens from Panasonic. So even though the iPhone 13 was released in the final quarter of 2021, it's the latest flagship lineup from Apple, which comprises of the iPhone 13 mini, the iPhone 13, iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. iPhones have always been a superior force in the smartphone camera industry as it relates to photography and videos, and iPhone has always been on top in most cases as it relates to video quality. They have always been neck and neck with Samsung and Google Pixel as it relates to photography. Currently, the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra has the best smartphone camera so far as it relates to smartphone photography. But the iPhone 13 Pro Max is currently the king of smartphone videography. In this video, I will be comparing the iPhone 13 base model with my Panasonic Lumix S5. I know that the Panasonic Lumix S5 is a dedicated video and photography camera from Panasonic, but I want to see if the iPhone 13 can be used as a daily driver from a content creator perspective to replace a dedicated mirrorless camera for run and gun shooters who are always on the go and don't want anything too expensive or flashy or technical to capture their YouTube and social media content. So without further ado, let me dive right into this video. Now the first topic I want to discuss as it relates to both devices are specs. So the iPhone 13 has a 12 megapixel f1.6 26 megapixel wide angle camera and also a 12 megapixel f2.4 13mm ultra wide camera. On the selfie side of stuff, you have a 12 megapixel f2.2 23mm wide angle camera. Both cameras on the back are capable of shooting 4K 24, 30 and 60 frames per second, and also the selfie camera is capable of shooting 4K 24, 25, 30 and 60 frames per second. The iPhone 13 is also equipped with Dolby Vision HDR videos and can capture in this format at up to 60 frames per second with stereo sound recording. Now the Panasonic Lumix S5 can do everything the iPhone 13 can as it relates to camera. The Panasonic Lumix S5 can also shoot up to 4K 60 frames per second with 10-bit color recorded internally from the camera. The Panasonic Lumix S5 is also capable of shooting high dynamic range videos and photos. Now as it relates to usability, the iPhone 13 is dedicated to regular consumers looking to purchase a smartphone for their day-to-day use, with a camera that is superb as a bonus, while the Panasonic Lumix S5 is a dedicated mirrorless camera for professionals or intermediate photographers and videographers, as it has a full-frame 24 megapixel sensor with the Panasonic L mount built for capturing superb, high-quality, crisp and clean, accurate colored videos and photos alike. Now let's talk about the cost of each of these items. Now the iPhone 13 is obviously going to be cheaper than the Panasonic Lumix S5 as it is a dedicated mirrorless camera, as I have been mentioning many times before. The iPhone 13 is around 3 times cheaper than the Panasonic Lumix S5. And even if you get the Panasonic Lumix S5 with the kit lens, the 20 to 60mm f3.5 to 5.6 lens, you will still need other accessories such as extra batteries, filters and other lenses such as this one right here, which is the 85mm f1.8, which set me back around 600 USD. So in the long run, the iPhone 13 is a very cheaper device compared to the Panasonic Lumix S5 as it relates to cost. But even though the iPhone 13 is cheaper than the Panasonic Lumix S5, we have to pay keen attention to who is using the Panasonic Lumix S5 versus who will only need an iPhone 13. The Panasonic Lumix S5 is giving you amazing quality as a YouTuber, and you can also use it to get professional work done. Trust me, this camera is a workhorse. It's a beast. It produces clean, crisp, cinematic, professional grades. Oh my god, it's amazing. I can go on forever. But we know the iPhone is not a dedicated camera, so it won't be producing as good quality straight out of the smartphone as the Panasonic Lumix S5 would. It's giving you pretty good quality though. You have to give the iPhone that, but because of its small itty bitty tiny cameras and also that tiny sensor size, you won't be getting the quality you are getting from a full frame mirrorless camera such as the Panasonic Lumix S5, and these are evident in low light operations from almost all smartphones. Let me not say almost, from all smartphones without adequate lighting at night. So who is the iPhone 13 for and who is the Lumix S5 for? Well, the iPhone 13 would be perfect for YouTubers who are just grabbing a quick camera to capture some quick videos such as vlogs, if they're like snapping their daily lifestyle or creating simple head talking videos in proper lighting. But when it relates to technical studio setup like the one I'm using here with lights and a dark scene, you will need a larger sensor, which the Panasonic Lumix S5 has, to take in more light and give you a sharper, crisper kind of video. And also the Panasonic Lumix S5 has a flip out screen, so I can have the lens pointing at me and I'm looking at the screen at the same time to see how my video looks if I'm in focus, even though I use manual focus. So I can always stay sharp and you do not see the focus pulling. I can always switch to manual focus. You can do that on some smartphones, but I know you cannot do that on the native iPhone camera app. So that's a drawback with using a smartphone opposed to a professional camera. But the iPhone 13 would also be a perfect B camera if you have a main dedicated mirrorless camera. So let's say I have my Panasonic Lumix S5. I could use the iPhone 13 to be my secondary camera to capture BTS, to take quick product shots, quick product videos. If I want to post something on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, even a YouTube short, I could always pull from my iPhone 13 because it's giving rich color. The audio on the iPhone is beautiful and it takes amazing photos instead of taking out my Lumix S5, fitting on a lens, flipping out the screen, adjusting my settings, because I always shoot manual, which would take more time than just pulling out a smartphone and tapping the shutter button. Now, enough of the chit chat without showing any samples from both devices. Let's jump into some photo samples from the iPhone 13. Now, as I stated before, iPhones have always been producing beautiful, crisp, rich, and amazing photos for the past 10 years, ever since they were made. And the iPhone 13 is no exception to that. Their portrait mode is still amazing. Their regular photos are still amazing. Their video quality is still up to par. Still the best videos from smartphone on the market, even though that is technically kind of preference at this point, because Samsung and iPhone are like neck to neck in video and photo quality. So it's really up to preference currently, but the videos coming from the iPhone and the photos, they're pretty amazing, as you guys can see in these samples, compared to the Lumix S5, which I think it's based on your audience, because someone like me, I want the best quality, I want the highest quality, the highest resolution, I want sharpness, I want cleanness, I want accurate colors. So I will lean towards my Panasonic Lumix S5 for almost all my videos and almost all my photos, because I can get that real depth of field opposed to that artificial depth of field when you take photos on the iPhone 13. I can just throw on my 85mm lens on my Panasonic Lumix S5, drop my aperture to f1.8 and get some amazing real-time shallow depth of field compared to something that a software is doing within the phone on the iPhone when it relates to portrait mode. As you guys can see in these photo comparisons, you guys can decide which looks better, if the iPhone artificial depth of field looks better than the professional or authentic depth of field which the Panasonic Lumix S5 is producing. Also, I will be showing you guys some video quality of each device so you can compare to see which is better and how well the iPhone is performing compared to a full frame mirrorless camera. A very interesting feature that Apple announced last year when they announced the iPhone 13 was the cinematic mode that this new device will be featuring. To be honest, I don't think the cinematic mode is of much use to me, that is, as a creator, because it's really tacky. I don't see any scenario in which I would use the cinematic mode on the iPhone 13 lineup, because the edges on the subject coming from this mode, it's just too soft and it looks very unprofessional and tacky, like it's something you're getting from an app you would download from the Play Store. It's not polished. It's just too digital. It's not the same as you would be getting from a naturally shallow depth of field lens from a professional cinema or mirrorless camera. It's just not cutting it for me. It may work for you though, but it's definitely not working for me. If you guys want a better, variation of what Apple was trying to do, you can try live videos on the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. That is perfect. That is closer to what a real authentic shallow depth of field would look like in a video, opposed to iPhone's cinematic mode. Maybe they were trying to compete with Samsung because Samsung came up with the live video feature in their phones from back in 2019 with the S10. Now in closure guys, can the iPhone 13 replace the Panasonic Lumix S5 from my camera bag? Definitely not. I don't think a smartphone would ever replace my dedicated camera from my camera bag. And the reason being is that a smartphone is not made for photography. It's made for being a life companion while you carry out your day-to-day activities, compared to your mirrorless camera, which is dedicated to capturing photos and videos and nothing else. The Panasonic Lumix S5 is giving me cinema-grade quality content such as videos and photos, and I don't think the iPhone 13 is capable of giving me that type of quality, that type of sharpness, that type of color space, without me color grading my videos and there are artifacts coming into my video, because the Panasonic Lumix S5 shoots 10-bit color. But not because the iPhone 13 cannot replace my Panasonic Lumix S5 doesn't mean it doesn't have a space in my life. I would definitely keep the iPhone 13 as a backup camera or a BTS or secondary camera, for if I'm capturing a professional shoot and my Lumix S5 is occupied capturing main shots, I could pull out my iPhone 13 to capture some behind the scenes or even fill in the gap with some scenes if the Panasonic Lumix S5 is already occupied, so I can have multiple scenes to make my video more diverse. So the iPhone 13, even though it wouldn't be replacing my Panasonic Lumix S5, there is still room for it in my life as it relates to capturing content. And as we come to the closure of yet another video, if you guys found this one interesting, please hit the subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. It will help me out with the YouTube algorithm, so I may one day pop up in your recommendation whenever I release something new. Also hit the notification bell, so if you slide down your notification panel, Siobhan Beckford will be there. I'm Siobhan Beckford. I hope you found this one interesting and useful, and stay tuned for what I have in store for the future.